So, I had a customer ask on Threads, is all that Fuzz Imp make fuzz pedals? Like Machina 2 is a fantastic fuzz pedal, but not everything I make is a fuzz pedal. And in fact, some of the best selling pedals in the lineup are pretty much not fuzz at all. I mean, they definitely have that signature Fuzz Imp sound and have some really cool features to them, and they're awesome to play, but not everything is a fuzz, because even though my mission in making Fuzz Imp products is to make fuzzes to get people on board with fuzz sounds that maybe they think they really don't like fuzz pedals or whatever. My goal is to make them try and show something that anybody can enjoy. Although definitely check out Machina 2. This thing is nuts. And for example, the right side of the Machina is more of a boost or overdrive with a very slight grit to it. But the crazy fuzz on the other side and combining them together is what gives it the magic. And there's a lot of stuff that I make that is definitely, like, in a combo form, shows its true potential. But I think where it really started to get derailed, the whole Fuzz Imp brand, because originally it was only going to be fuzzes. Like, the only products in the lineup were going to be some kind of fuzzes. That was until I created the Shroot pedal. Now, what the Shroot pedal is, the exact circuits it's based on, the exact sounds that it makes, I will fill in. But let's start with, this is not what I would say is a fuzz. It's more of an overdrive, for sure. It's more of an amp in a box sound, and we definitely will have clips. I probably played some clips before this, but we'll play some just of this as well. Really simple controls, really easy to use. You've got volume, gain, and tone, but they all interact with it. It's got a really high gain potential for an overdrive type pedal, and it almost is a Marshall in a box or an amp in a box style pedal, which some people really enjoy. I think it's a great genre of pedal. But this can go quite clean. You can play really articulately, or you can just dime it out and get some pretty good chugs, honestly. But this is probably what really started it, because this was the best selling pedal when it came out. Back in April of 2021, I basically just made these for a few months, and I later came out with the second edition, the Shroot 2, that is a larger pedal with 5 knobs. That was a huge hit. Made nothing but those for like a year and a half, basically, until I came up with some other designs. But the Shroot series is amp in a box, overdrive, maybe distortion, depending on how you set it up. But I wouldn't call it a fuzz. Some people hear fuzzy characteristics in it because it does have a little bit of presence in the low end. Typically with a fuzz, what you hear is a lot of saturation or distortion in the low end. That's when I would say considered a fuzz. And a perfect example coming up, this took a lot of doing, is the Echo Moon pedal. So the Echo Moon pedal is a delay pedal with a pretty signature feature. It's got this boost knob on it that really overdrives and gets pretty clippy and saturated. I think that's why I tried it. I like the word saturated. I feel like a saturated signal sounds better than distorted, because distorted sometimes can mean like blurry or incoherent, but saturated means it's got some grit, it's got some texture to it, and we're all about the texture here. But yeah, so it's got this boost feature that when dimed, it kind of overloads the front end of any amp, even a super clean amp like the one I'm going to be using for the demo. It's actually like a bass combo amp that's very clean, but I love how it sounds. It also was my first and only time-based pedal so far, so it's got a delay chip in it. It has the PT2399 delay chip, which has some of its own limitations. It can be a little lo-fi sounding. It only has so much delay time, but we did our best to work around it, and I feel like what I did with the boost circuit and the 2 EQ modes, so the lo-fi and regular EQ modes, really shape it. And what I love about the Echo Moon is that you can run it into fuzz and overdrive type effects, and it gets this really cool texture. The kind of this tearing sound and this big like wall of sound shoegaze thing. That's primarily how I designed it to be used, was in front of distortion. For cleaner, nicer repeats, you typically run them after, but the one thing about Echo Moon is even in full mode, it sucks quite a bit of the ultra low end out, so it can kind of reshape the whole sound in a way that some people like, some people don't, but it's something that I always tell people to keep in mind when they order these. It's not a pure clean delay, even though it can sound quite nice. But it reminds me a lot of the U2 sound from the Joshua Tree era. Coming to the most recent addition to the Fuzz Imp lineup is the Amity pedal. This is a dual overdrive, dual amp in a box type pedal, and I really love how this sounds. So what we've got is on the right side is the crunchier of the two channels, which is kind of an interesting choice. It sounds more martially. The circuit that's in here is a Noble's ODR1, which is based on a bassman, but the problem with that pedal is it has a little bit too much low end. It's a little too beefy in the low end, so that's why the depth control is there. And the way the tone control works in a Noble's ODR1 is totally different than any other pedal or overdrive that I've seen. So fully left, it's just the mids. It focuses in on the mid-range. And then fully right, you have a lot more highs and lows. So you're getting more of the full frequency spectrum around it. It's a really interesting tone control, and how it's built in the circuit is pretty complex for a pedal like this. The left side of the Amity is based off of my Obtainium pedal. It's like a cult classic in the lineup. I really enjoy how it sounds. It has a pretty decent amount of gain boost and volume boost, and it has an active mid control. The center frequency is at 1,000 kilohertz, 1K. So that's kind of the sweet spot for a lot of guitar voicing. If you're scooping that, you get like that big muff scooped sound. If you're boosting it, you get this really focused, borderline vintage treble boosting type tone. It's really cool. So that's where I kind of feel like the sweet spots are with the tone controls. It has tons of volume boost, has even more volume boost than pretty much any pedal I make, which is why I put it second, so that you can combine these two, stack them as my answer to the King of Tone. So let's go to some more jamming. I'm assuming at this point I've interjected some jamming and some clips, but let's just hook the whole thing up and hear how these sound in tandem. All right, so we've got the three pedals here. Shroot first, so guitar into Shroot, into Echo Moon, into Amity. And I'll show some of the different tones of each, talk a little bit about why I have them in this order. So I wanted to show Shroot into Echo Moon, so hearing that filtering I was talking about that the Echo Moon does, and also being able to slam into the Amity, and also being able to stack kind of this is set up as an overdrive into more of an amp overdrive type tone. So here's Shroot. So super cool. Shroot's really good. Let's just briefly go to Echo Moon for a second. So we're in full mode. So it's definitely taking some low end out, but you're gonna increase this boost quite a bit. Start with the volume low because it can get pretty hot. So we've got shapes the tone, but especially into dirty amps and about what we're about to do, it really shines. So it sounds really good. So go brief rundown of Amity. You know what I like to do is turn the knobs all about to between 6 and 7, and it really kind of just shows the different sounds, the different channels. So we've got the right side. Then you've got the left side. Start stacking some stuff. So in conclusion, you can hear 3 totally different pedals that aren't fuzz, but obviously I like making dirt boxes, things that make your signal crunchier, and these are just some of my favorite ones that I'm making right now. Definitely check out things like Sender 5, Drat, Bongfire, and Machina 2 for more extreme things that are closer to fuzz. Sender 5 can get a little more distorted, but it's definitely got some of that fuzzy character in it, especially if you turn off the pre-boost that tightens it up. Makes it a little looser, a little more thick and distorted. But a lot of these tones are super cool and usable for all different kinds of players. All my pedals, I try to build in a ton of range so that you can pull the most out of all these pedals. So check out fuzzimp.com in the description or the link in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really appreciate you sticking it out till the end. Until next time.